Once upon a time, in a little old shed at the edge of the forest, lived a little mouse named Gus. Gus was not like other mice. While most mice like to sneak crumbs, scurry about and squeak loudly at night, Gus had different passions. He loved to eat and sleep, yes, but most of all, Gus loved to make things. He sewed tiny blankets from scraps, knitted scarves with bits of wool, and patched holes in pockets and hems. If something was torn, Gus's little paws could stitch it back together beautifully. Gus wasn't alone. He had two best friends, Pip and Nib. Pip was quick and clever, always darting here and there, while Nib was small and shy, but had sharp little teeth that could gnaw through anything. Together, the three mice were inseparable. But Gus had an even more special friend, a kind human named Cinderella. Cinderella no longer lived in the grand part of the house. After her father passed away, her cruel stepmother and stepsisters took everything. She now lived in a shabby shack outside and worked tirelessly each day. She swept floors until her hands ached, scrubbed pots until they shone, and carried heavy buckets of water. Her dresses often tore and ripped, but Cinderella never complained or scolded anyone. She was always kind, and she told Gus wonderful stories of faraway lands, mountains that touched the sky, sparkling oceans, and cities full of lights. Gus listened with wide eyes and twitching whiskers, always eager for more. Every time her dress ripped, he stitched it neatly back together. Gus himself lived inside one of Cinderella's old shoes, the prettiest she had owned as a girl. He cleaned it, padded it, and made it the finest bed in the world. For a whole year, Gus had been keeping a secret. He was making a gift for Cinderella, a pair of slippers. Not ordinary slippers, but ones stitched from soft silvery cloth he found in the attic, lined with tiny pearls from a broken necklace, and sewn with golden thread that shone in the sunlight. Every night, when the house grew quiet, Gus worked on the slippers. They were nearly finished, and he planned to give them to Cinderella on her birthday. One morning, the town crier announced thrilling news. The prince was holding a grand ball at the palace. "Every young lady is invited," he declared. The stepsisters squealed with excitement. "New dresses, new shoes. The prince will adore us," they cried, rushing off to order gowns. Cinderella whispered to Gus, "Oh, wouldn't it be lovely to go just once?" Gus's whiskers twitched as he hurried to his hiding place and proudly revealed the slippers he had made. "For you?" he squeaked. Cinderella gasped. "Oh, Gus, they're beautiful. The loveliest slippers I've ever seen. I wish I could wear them to the ball." But before she could say more, her stepsisters stormed in, mocked her, and locked her in her room. That night, after the stepsisters had left, Cinderella sat crying. Suddenly, poof, her fairy godmother appeared. "You have been kind and patient, dear child," she said. "Tonight, you shall go to the ball." With a wave of her wand, Cinderella's rags turned into a shimmering blue gown. Pumpkins became a golden carriage, and mice became horses. But the slippers remained unchanged. The fairy godmother smiled knowingly. "These are perfect just as they are, for they were made with love." She warned Cinderella that the magic would last only until midnight. Cinderella promised to be careful and, wearing Gus's slippers, set off to the ball. The palace was filled with music and laughter, but when Cinderella entered, the whole room fell silent. She shone brighter than the chandeliers. The prince bowed, asked her to dance, and they danced all night. But when the clock struck 12, Cinderella fled, her gown fluttering as she ran down the palace steps. In her haste, one of Gus's slippers slipped off her foot. The prince picked it up gently. "I shall find her," he declared. The next morning, the prince and his men searched the kingdom, declaring that every young lady must try on the slipper, for whoever fit it would become his bride. At last, they reached Cinderella's home. The stepsisters fought to try first, but their feet would not fit. Gus overheard them whispering, "Don't let the girl from the shack out. She'll ruin everything." Determined to help, Gus and his friends Pip and Nib scurried to Cinderella's room. They tugged and pulled until they dragged out the other slipper hidden under her bed. Carrying it together, they darted into the hall, with Cinderella chasing them. The prince asked, "Are there no other young ladies here?" Just as the sisters opened their mouths to lie, Gus and his friends tumbled into the room with the slipper, followed by breathless Cinderella. The prince's eyes lit up. "It's you!" He knelt and gently placed the slipper on her foot. It fit perfectly, of course, because Gus had made it just for her. The very next day, Cinderella and the prince were married in the grandest wedding the kingdom had ever seen. Gus, Pip and Nib had the best seats in the house. Afterward, Cinderella leaned down and whispered, "Thank you, my little friend. Without you, none of this would have happened." Gus squeaked happily, his whiskers twitching with pride. The palace tailor noticed the tiny mouse with the clever paws. "Why, those stitches on the princess's slippers are the finest I've ever seen. Would you like to be my little assistant?" From that day forward, Gus worked in the palace alongside the tailor. He nibbled loose threads, fetched spools of silk, and added tiny, perfect stitches where no one else could reach. The gowns and suits he helped create became the most beautiful in the kingdom. And every evening, after the sewing was done, Cinderella would sit by the window with Gus in her lap, telling him stories of faraway lands. Gus, the little mouse with the big heart, would listen and dream of all the wonderful things still to be made.